Hi guys, it's Ashley, and today's video is going to be my September TBR. So let's go ahead and chat about books. Okay, so first things first, I am going to continue on with my reread of the Wheel of Time series, and I am going to finish A Crown of Swords by Robert Jordan. So I can't really go into too much detail about like what this specific book is about, because I don't want to ruin like the whole series for those of you who haven't read it. But the series itself is a very, stereotypical like fantasy story, and that is, you have your savior and his friends have to figure out how they are going to save the world from the Dark One, and their path to doing that. But this is my all-time favorite fantasy series. I love it. I love rereading it. It's just as wonderful this time through as it was the first time through. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on by reading book 7. Another series that I am going to continue on with this month is the Three Dark Crowns series by Kendare. I am going to read book 2. This is One Dark Throne. And again, I'm going to give you kind of the gist of what the series is about. This series takes place on a magical island called Fenburn, and the island is very focused on the politics right now, as they are in the process of choosing their queen. And how they go about doing that is every queen has a set of triplets, and the triplets are then separated at about age 6, and they go off to these respective like areas of the island that all have these magical properties to them, and each of those triplets has an affinity for one of those like magical properties, right? So then when they come of age, it's now time to basically fight to the death with the sisters. Like all 3 sisters have to go and try and kill each other to see who will become queen, and that will be the last one standing. So I'm pretty excited to continue on in this series. This series totally took me by surprise by how much I enjoyed reading the first book, so I hope that my love for it will continue in this book. So another book I'm planning to read in September is The Dressmaker's Gift by Fiona Valpy. And this is a historical fiction novel. I'm going to be reading it on my Kindle. But this is a historical fiction novel that has a big chunk of it is based during World War II in France. And during this time, the city's actually occupied by the Nazis. And there are 3 seamstresses that are going about their normal lives, but they all kind of have like different things going on behind the scenes, I guess, if you will. One of them's in love with a German officer, one of them is a part of the resistance, and then the other one has like this mysterious thing going on that we don't know about. And then we jump forward to Claire, and she basically she's the granddaughter of one of these seamstresses, and she goes back to France and starts working in like the same shop and everything like that, and she starts to kind of like discover these things, and all kinds of craziness happens. That's all I got. I'm pretty excited about it. I really do love historical fiction, so looking forward to that one. Okay, and so then the next one that I'm also going to be reading on my Kindle is a contemporary fiction. This is Everything You Are by Kerry King, and it's basically about this cellist who loses the use of his hands, so he can't play anymore. And then he, of course, can't just have the one tragedy, and then his ex-wife and son, I think, are killed in a car accident, and so then he decides to go and live with his daughter, who's basically the only one left. And while he's with her, he meets somebody who basically is some woman who they fall in love, and she is so determined to help him play the cello again. And it kind of takes us through that story. So I'm pretty excited to read it and see how that one goes as well. So, another contemporary fiction that I'm going to be reading this month is If Only I Could Tell You by Hannah Beckerman. I don't have it yet, but it is on its way to me. And it's about this mom who has two daughters, and her daughters, basically, they don't speak anymore. And it takes you through why and what have you, and then we come across this secret that can basically either make the situation worse or bring them together, and it kind of goes through that. So I'm pretty drawn to this, pretty excited about it. We'll see how it goes. I've got a lot of like contemporary fiction this month, don't I? I'm saving all of my like horror and thrillers and stuff for next month, so. Okay, so the next book that I will be reading in September is a fantasy novel. Surprise, surprise. And it is Stormglass by Jeff Wheeler. And it's basically set in this world of opposites. So you have these like floating manors that are like up in the sky, and that's where like, you know, the rich, the elite, the upper class, that's where they live. And then down below on like normal land is where you have, you know, the poor people. And there's this magic system that's holding like these manors aloft, that they call them mysteries. So we'll get to figure that out. But basically, so we followed this girl, Seti, who lives down below in like the poor people area. And then one of the elitists, he's an admiral of some kind, he comes down and basically rescues her from this life of poverty and is attempting to adopt her, and we kind of take it through her, and how this story goes. I believe we also follow the viewpoint of someone else about the same age, also a girl, but she's on the other end of the spectrum, like she is one of the elite, I think. But I'm kind of intrigued. I know it's a series. Lord help me, I am involved in so many series right now. Wow. So we'll see. Okay, and then again, continuing on with the series, I am going to be reading book, I believe it's 8, of the Outlander series, and it is Written in My Own Heart's Blood by Diana Gabaldon. I am, again, not going to spoil it for anyone because I can't really talk much about the book without spoiling the rest of the series, but it is an epic historical fiction romance with war and gruesomeness and love and lust. And okay, another one I am going to be reading is The Almond Tree by Michelle Cohen Crosanti, and this has been sitting on my shelf for literal years. And I still haven't read it, but it sounds really good, so I think now's the time. It's basically, it takes the point of view of this boy named Ikmad, and basically his village lives in this area where they're in constant fear. They're in constant fear of the violence of the outside world, basically. And Ikmad spends his time struggling with the fact that there's nothing he can do about it. Then on his 12th birthday, his fears all kind of come to reality, and his father ends up in prison. His family home and his possessions are all confiscated. His siblings just completely just decide to lean towards hate, because of their conflict that they're dealing with, and basically this story is taking us through Ikmad's journey of trying to save his family. So I think the reason I have waited so long to read this is that I'm thinking it's going to be very emotional for me, and that I'm going to be all up in my feelings. So I'm kind of excited and kind of dreading this all at the same time. if that makes sense. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. I am super sick. Okay, and then last but not least is Sunshine by Robyn McKinley. This should be a pretty fun read. This is one that my sister actually made me buy while she was here. And it is a vampire fairy tale book. So it's definitely fantasy. And so basically we are following the story of Sunshine, who is a girl who gets abducted by vampires. But they also have a vampire as a prisoner. And she basically has to figure out how to escape her situation. She's being held prisoner in, you know, a rundown house. And she basically finds out that the vampire she's imprisoned with isn't exactly what she thought a vampire was supposed to be. Surprise. And that she's going to need him to escape, and he needs her too. So I'm pretty excited to read this. It should be a pretty quick, pretty easy, pretty light read for me, I think. So that's exciting. So we shall see how I do with all of these books. I think there was 11 of them, which is how many I read last month. So I guess it's doable. But we'll see. And we'll see if I end up actually even sticking to this TBR at all. Who knows? But anyway, that's all I've got. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like me, please hit the subscribe button. And if you want to be notified of my uploads, hit the notification bell. Otherwise, I will see you guys in my next one.